It was the beginning of 2021, and on my birthday, I decided to treat myself by renting out a movie theater just for me and my spanking new PS5. The day arrived, and before going to the mall, I decided to drop by my local game shop to get a controller. And as I was about to check out, I saw The Last of Us Part 2 at a pretty fair price, so I got that too. Once I was already at the theater, I decided to play Red Dead Redemption 2, which I had already installed on the console. Also some Need for Speed Heat, and I finished Mafia the Definitive Edition. Both of those were also digital games. When I only had about an hour left, I decided to start The Last of Us 2. So I opened the box, and keep in mind that this was my first PlayStation home console. I saw 2 discs and I saw some advertisement for the Dr. Disrespect game. One for installation and also another one for playing. Makes sense, I thought. This is a huge game that doesn't fit in just one disc. So I started the process that took ages, by the way. But when the game finally finished installing, I put the play disc in and that should be it, right? Wrong. After all that time, the game didn't even work. And I didn't have access to Wi-Fi at the theater for an update, so not only did the game not work, I also wasted all that time installing it. When instead, I could have played a whole another hour of RDR2 on a 23-meter screen, which is an experience that I believe not many people in the world have had. That was the story of how physical games ruined my life and why, among many other reasons, I go all digital, all day, all the way on most of the consoles that I have. How do we fix that? Like everything in life, there are pros and cons. And one of the biggest arguments that I heard the pro-physical people spewing about is that you own the game and that you can do whatever you want with it. First of all, let's make something very clear. You don't own. Both physical and digital games are only a license that you have access to and can be taken away from you for pretty much any reason at any moment. Does that happen often? No, not really. Think about the times that you've owned a physical game disc and that you've lost it. It got damaged, or any of the infinite things that can happen to something that's just not ones and zeros. Can you honestly tell me that you still own every single physical game that you've ever purchased? And that they all work? Are you sure no one has stolen a game from your collection? That you've misplaced it, or that they still even work? Because I don't have every physical game that I've ever purchased still in my collection. But do you know how many digital games I've lost? 0. Even the games that have been delisted, I can still download and play them with no issue whatsoever. What they actually meant is ownership, like buying the game, beating it, and trading in at GameStop for 35 cents, or exchanging it with a friend for another game you don't own. Now, call me crazy, but when I buy a game, it's because I want the game. I want to play the game, I don't know, maybe more than once in my lifetime. But when I finish a game, I'm not looking for a way to get rid of it as soon as possible. I know it's not the same thing, but that's the same reason why I don't uninstall games that I've already finished. But they're right, once you buy a digital game, most of the time, that's it. You won't ever see that money again, and digital games only decrease in value. Au contraire to some physical games that are stupid expensive. Which is honestly another pro for digital, because would you rather pay $2 million for Super Mario Bros? Or just get a ROM? Speaking of the retro stuff, I can't think of a game that if it hasn't gotten a re-release, it's not readily available to download online as a Vanderware going back to the first console. But if you're physical exclusive, good luck finding an Apple Pippin with Mr. Potato Head Saves Veggie Valley. Prices are sometimes also brought up as a pro for physical, but my brother in Christ, have you heard of Steam sales? Anyways, going back to being able to sell stuff. In theory, you could create an email account, which is free, and with that create a PSN account or Steam or whatever, which is also free. Buy a game, play it, and after you could sell the account on a gray market. Is that an extremely roundabout and convoluted way of going about it? Yeah. But is it possible? Also, yeah. Another pro-physical argument is the preservation/offline access. How are you going to play your digital games when the servers get taken down? They say. Well, as we established in my birthday story, my physical game didn't even work out of the box. I could only play it after I downloaded an update. Do you know which games did work offline? Yep, the digital ones. And let's not even bring up always online games. Just go ask the people who purchased a physical copy of Concord if they're having fun with it. And the last thing that I thought would be a pro for physical, but it's actually a con, is the storage. Call me naive, but I thought the disc actually did something. Again, the PS5 was my first home console, but I did have a cousin that had a PS2 back in the day. And how that works is that you put the disc in and you play the game from the disc. I don't even think the PS2 had any internal memory, so that's why I thought that in the present the game would also be on the disc, except for extra large games like The Last of Us Part 2 that have 2 discs. But no, any game, regardless if it's 100 gigs or 100 megabytes, you have to install the whole thing on your console. Which leaves me with only one question: what's the disc for? At this point, it's only DRM with extra steps. I do want to bring up compatibility. Usually, with every console generation, you have a different type of, at the very least, box. Unless you're Xbox, I don't know what they're doing. But up until recently, if you had like a PS3 game, you couldn't play it on your PS4. Thankfully, this has changed in recent times, with Xbox being the best at it. That feels weird to say, where you can play every generation of Xbox games on the most recent console. And with digital games, mostly since the past 2 or 3 generations, you have your accounts and the games that you purchase are attached to your account and can play them on the console that supports it. But let's say that the PS6 comes out and that they change the cartridges. Your collections of discs would instantly become paperweights, but your digital games would still forever be attached to your account. That's the way it's been on PC, where you have your Steam account with all your games. I don't know if the PC too will have backwards compatibility. Another advantage of games being attached to your account is that in theory, any console could give you access to your games. Are you in a hotel or a hospital? Log in with your account and your games and saves are ready for you after the download. Something that is also often brought up are download times. Like, yeah, we're spending weeks downloading Flash games. Dude, in what year do you live? I'd understand that being a thing 10 years ago, but now a game takes a couple of hours to download at most. And it's not like you just put the disc and the game's ready. You've got to install it first if you're lucky and the data is actually on the disc. Otherwise, you need to install the day one update that's actually got the entire game in it. Plus, I remember watching a video from the god, Scott DeWaz, where he compared download times to actually go into the store and getting the game. Or you could also compare it to ordering it online, which takes days. You can beat that time downloading even with dial-up internet. Tidiness is somewhat important to me. I don't care if the toilet seat is up, but what really pisses me off is that if you go to open a game box and the disc or cartridge is misplaced, you have to go to the other box and find something else in that one. I'm like trying to play a puzzle game, but I found a puzzle in real life. I know it's very entertaining to make fun of people who like physical media, but we should always help our fellow gamers. So this is how physical games can be better. First, let's take the best form of physical media that exists at the moment and make it better. That be the Switch. You have a cartridge that you just put in the console and it works. No installations, no downloads, it just works. Unless you buy one of those download required Switch games. If you get one of those, I can only imagine what the other sperm cells that didn't win the race would have been like. One of the biggest problems with the Switch is that if you go out and plan on playing more than one game, you have to take the cartridge with you. You better not regret that decision later on, because that's all you'll have. Or you can just get a 2TB SD card and literally have your entire library on the go. In this case, what can be done for it to become the best of both worlds is a cartridge that you put in your console that could be registered to it, not permanently. Like if you take the cartridge out and put it in another console, it gets registered to that new one. That way you can still sell your games with no strings attached. With this being how it would work, you could have your whole entire library on the go, with the actual cartridge staying at home. I think that'd be the perfect physical media, a cartridge or disc that actually has the game in it, that can be temporarily registered to your console, giving you the option to install it to the console for easier access. But until that becomes the case, I'll continue enjoying my digital games. Thanks for watching.